Does your child feel left out? Watch The Odd Ones Out. The Odd Ones Out by Paul Easter. The Odd Ones Out is a heartwarming tale about two unique friends, Petra the echidna and Paddy the platypus. Both Petra and Paddy feel a little different from everyone else, and sometimes that makes it hard to fit in. But when they meet, they discover that being odd might just be their greatest strength. Through their journey in the Australian bush, they learn the value of friendship, kindness, and accepting themselves for who they are. This story is filled with adventure, laughter, and a reminder that it's okay to be different, because true friends will love you just the way you are. Paddy's Awakening. One fine morning, deep in the heart of the Australian bush, a tiny egg started to wiggle. Inside, Paddy the platypus was having the most curious dream. He was swimming in a river of warm, gooey yolk. Suddenly, crack! A tiny hole appeared in the egg. Paddy blinked his big round eyes and peeked out. The first thing he saw was his own duck-like bill, which was rather confusing. Well, that's funny, Paddy thought. I don't remember ordering this. Petra's Awakening. One bright morning, nestled deep within the Australian bush, a small echidna egg began to wiggle. Inside, Petra the echidna was dreaming of tasty ants and crunchy termites. With a tiny crack, a hole appeared in the egg. Petra poked her nose out, only to discover she had a set of spiky quills. Oh my, she thought. This is going to be interesting growing up. Paddy's wobbly start. Crack, crack. The shell broke open even more, and Paddy tumbled out, landing on his big flat tail. He wobbled on his webbed feet, blinking at the bright sunny world around him. There were towering trees, singing birds, and the bluest sky he had never seen. Paddy took a deep breath and smelled something fresh and green. Ah, the smell of adventure, he declared, though he wasn't quite sure what adventure smelled like. Newborn Australian. Crack, crack. The shell broke open more, and Petra tumbled out, landing softly on the warm ground. She wiggled her little snout, blinking at the vibrant world around her. Wow, Petra exclaimed, looking at her prickly back. These must be my spikes? She sniffed the fresh, earthy scent of the bush and heard the cheerful chatter of birds. This is not too bad, she thought. I'm in Australia. Paddy's first walk. Paddy looked down at the eggshell pieces scattered around him. Well, there's no going back now, he said with a grin. With a determined wiggle of his bill and a swish of his tail, Paddy took his first wobbly steps into the great Australian world. He didn't know where he was going, but he was sure of one thing: life outside the egg was going to be an excellent adventure. Petra's first steps. Petra took a cautious step forward, her spines gently bristling. Hello there, world, she said, though she wasn't quite sure what to say. Petra laughed to herself, realizing that her spines might be a bit unusual. Yes, I'm Petra. Just hatching out and figuring things out. And so, Petra the echidna embarked on her adventures, ready to explore the wonders of the Australian world, one prickly step at a time. The kookaburra. Just then, a kookaburra perched nearby let out a loud laugh. Paddy jumped in surprise. "What's so funny?" he asked, but the kookaburra just flew off, chuckling to itself. Paddy stood there for a moment, feeling a bit puzzled. He looked down at his webbed feet, wiggled his bill, and gave his tail a little shake. "Do I look odd?" he thought, glancing around nervously. What if the world outside his shell was full of animals who found him funny in all the wrong ways? Hopscotch. As Petra wandered through the bush, she heard a soft thud-thud in the distance. Curious, she followed the sound until she came upon a small clearing. There, a couple of kangaroos were hopscotching. She had never seen a game like this before. It looked like so much fun. Excuse me," she said in a polite, soft voice. The kangaroos stopped to look at her. "Do you think maybe I could play too?" The kangaroos looked at each other, then hopped away without saying a word. Thoughts. But as he sat by the stream, with the sunlight glinting off the water and the gentle breeze ruffling his fur, Paddy took a deep breath. "Maybe I do look a bit different," he mused, "but I'm also one of a kind." With that thought, Paddy shook off his doubts, deciding that the kookaburra's laugh didn't have to mean anything bad at all. He might be different, but he was ready to show the world that different could be wonderful. The adventure was just beginning, and there was no time to waste worrying about a kookaburra. The wombat. Petra continued down the bush path, looking to make a new friend when she spotted a wombat. With a hopeful smile, she stopped in front of him and said, "Hello. I'm Petra. It's nice to meet you." The wombat glanced at her quills and scowled. "Humph," he grunted, stepping sideways to avoid her, his eyes wary. "Don't get too close with those spikes." Petra's smile faltered as the wombat continued past her without another word, leaving her standing there, visibly upset and feeling more alone than before. The ducks. Paddy waddled down to the creek, spotting a mother duck with her ducklings paddling in the water. Excited, he approached them and asked, "Can I join you for a swim?" But as soon as the ducks saw him, they took fright. Sure, he had a bill like theirs, but that's where the similarities ended. Without a second glance, they hurriedly swam away, leaving Paddy standing alone on the bank. He sighed, wondering if he'd ever find a friend who wouldn't be scared of his unusual looks. The dingo. Petra, feeling lonelier than ever, thought of an idea and curled up tightly, trying to look like a small, harmless rock. "Maybe someone will sit with me," she hoped. But instead of finding a friend, a passing dingo sniffed her curiously, but the moment he felt the prick of her quills, he yelped and bolted into the bush, scared off by her spikes. Petra uncurled slowly, her hope fading as she realized even her disguise couldn't bring her friendship. The wallabies. After being rejected by the ducks and laughed at by the kookaburra, Paddy continued along the stream, determined to make a friend. He soon spotted a couple of wallabies grazing by the water's edge. Mustering his courage, Paddy approached with a hopeful smile. "Hi there. Mind if I join you?" he asked. The wallabies froze, their eyes widening at Paddy's odd appearance. Sorry, we're kind of busy," one muttered before they hopped away. Paddy sighed, feeling more out of place than ever. Loneliness. Petra, still feeling sad, walked through the bush with her quills drooping. When she reached the creek, she saw Paddy sitting on a log, looking sad and lonely. She paused, feeling sorry for him. "I know how it feels to be different and have no friends," Petra whispered to herself. She wanted to go over and talk to him, but she was too shy. So, she stayed back, hoping that maybe, one day, they could be friends. The storm. Suddenly, the sky turned dark as a loud crack of thunder shook the air. The rain came pouring down. Paddy panicked and dove into the water. Petra, caught off guard, quickly curled into a tight ball. But the rain turned into a rushing flood, and before she knew it, Petra was swept off the bank and into the raging creek. The water tossed her around helplessly as she tried to hold on, but the current was too strong. Storm rescue. Paddy was swimming further up the creek when he noticed something odd in the water, a spiky ball being swept along by the current. He knew it was an echidna in trouble. Without hesitation, he swam toward her with all his strength. Reaching her, Paddy dived beneath and resurfaced in front of her path. "Follow me, and you'll be okay," he shouted with a reassuring smile. Petra uncurled, peeked out, and saw Paddy. She paddled after him, trusting him to guide her to safety. Helping hand. Paddy guided Petra carefully to the creek bank, the rain easing as the sun began to shine. Paddy extended both hands to help her out of the water. Petra grasped them gratefully. "Thank you," she gasped, her voice full of emotion. "You saved my life." Paddy blushed, embarrassed by the praise. "It was nothing," he mumbled with a shy smile. To him, helping Petra was just the right thing to do. But to Petra, it meant everything. She knew she had found a true friend. Perfectly odd. Paddy and Petra sat by the waterhole, both drenched. "I've always wanted a friend," Paddy confessed, glancing at Petra. She nodded, "Me too, but everyone thinks I'm too prickly." Then Paddy couldn't help but laugh. "And everyone thinks I'm too weird." Petra giggled, her eyes sparkling. "Maybe we're both just perfectly odd." Chatting. Paddy and Petra began chatting. They shared stories about their struggles to find friends. They realized how much they had in common. "I always thought I was too odd," Paddy said with a shy smile. "And I thought I was too prickly," Petra added, chuckling. They looked at each other and grinned. In that moment, they realized they didn't need to change, they just needed to find someone who liked them just as they are. Splashing. With the sun now warming the air, they decided it was the perfect time for some fun. Paddy said, "How about a game of splashing?" Petra agreed, with a nod and a grin. The two friends splashed and laughed until their bellies ached, enjoying the playful game and the refreshing water. "Let's do it again," Petra giggled. "I've never had so much fun," Paddy chuckled. Sunset. As the sun set, painting the sky with soft shades of pink and orange, Paddy and Petra sat side by side, their fur still damp from their splashing game. They looked at each other, locking eyes. "I guess I'm not so alone after all," Paddy said softly, his voice filled with warmth. Petra's eyes sparkled as she smiled back and said, "Me neither." In that quiet moment, they knew they had found something special, a friendship that made everything feel just right. Together. Petra and Paddy strolled hand in hand down the bush track, their hearts light and carefree. They passed by the other animals, kangaroos, wallabies, and even the kookaburra, but this time, there was no hesitation, no worry. They shared a smile, knowing they didn't need to fit in with everyone else. They had each other, and that was more than enough. The bush around them buzzed with life, but all they felt was the joy of simply being together.